Six Sigma is a set of tools, right? All right. Good question. Now we move on to understanding what is exactly Six Sigma. For that, we need a product or a service, right? All of you will definitely be connected with some product, some service. And now let me take a very, very simple product so that all of you can connect with it easily. And what is the product you are seeing here? A milk, right? Imagine a packet containing a milk or a bottle of milk. And you can see certain things written on the bottle. You see here, fiber is 0 gram, calories 137 calories, and carbohydrates 13 grams, protein 9.7 gram, fat 4.9 grams. What are these things? These are nothing but the technical specification. Am I right here? Every product will have these kind of specifications. Am I right or not?
Yes.
Yes.
So how these technical specifications are arrived? Your customer wanted them, isn't it? Customer requirement. Customer requirements are converted into appropriate technical specification. Thereby, many customers will start buying your product, will start buying your milk. And there is a procedure to convert the customer requirement into appropriate technical specification. There is a tool which can help you do that. And that is called QFD, Quality Function Deployment. CTQs are converted into technical specifications, right? And each and everything you are seeing here is known as technical specification. Hereafter, we are going to call them as CTQs. CTQ means critical to quality. Let us take one of the CTQ, calories. How many calories the customers expect from a pack of milk? 137 calories. And tell me, every day you produce 1000 milk bottles. Will you be able to produce exactly 137 calories? Will you be able to ensure exactly 137 calories in each and every milk bottle? Difficult. So customer gives you some tolerance. That is written here, 137 plus or minus 2. Now customer target is 137. Now somebody tell me what is USL here? Upper specification limit?
Plus or minus 1 or 2.
139.
I want to answer this way. USL upper specification is upper specification limit is 139. And now somebody tell me what is LSL?
Lower
135.
Very good, beautiful. Now we are using our learnings in the first 45 minutes, right? And your ability to produce milk bottles having the calories between 135 and 139 calories is called your capability. Because if you produce milk bottles having calories between 135 and 139, customer will simply buy it. And it should happen not just with one or two products, but should happen with every unit of milk bottle you produce. If you do that, your capability is really great. And this is what we are trying to measure in terms of sigma level. Whatever we discussed, upper specification limit and lower specification limit, I have visualized here. What is your customer target? 137. What is your USL? 139. What is your LSL? 135. What is the gap between the two? That is called specification width, USL minus LSL, which is 4 calories. You can call it customer tolerance or you can call it specification width. Hope this graph is understood. And now you are the quality head in your company. You are the quality head in your company and you wanted to understand, are you really producing milk bottles meeting the customer specification or not? Every day you produce, every shift or every batch, you produce 1000 milk bottles. Will you be able to check all 1000 milk bottles every batch? Possible or not possible? Definitely not possible. So you will take few samples maybe from a batch and then you will study whether this particular sample meets the spec or not. If the sample meets the spec, what will you conclude? You will simply conclude that your entire batch also meets the spec. So with the sample, you are trying to understand the population. What is your population? All that milk bottles you are producing. If you use a sample to predict on the population, this is called inferential statistics. This is called what? Inferential statistics. Use a sample to predict the population. This is called inferential statistics, and that is what we are going to do now. Imagine, just to for discussion's sake, I'm liberal. Imagine you took 100 sample of milk bottles you took, and then you sent it to lab to study the calories that it contains. And now the lab report comes back to you. Now you will have 100 readings talking about the calories that are present in the milk bottle. Now how many readings you have? 100. With the 100 reading, can you calculate average, which is X bar? You can calculate average, am I right?
Yes.
And your average is calculated to be 137. Average is X bar, customer target is mu. Customer target is 137 calories. Your average also 137 calories. Is it a good scenario? Definitely
Yes.
a good scenario. Customer wants 137 calories. That is appearing in your average. That means the central tendency is at the right point. Central tendency being at the right point, does it mean all the milk bottles contains exactly 137 calories? Definitely no, isn't it? It is only the average. Average only tells you whether you are holding the gun correctly or not. Are you shooting correctly or not? You have to see the standard deviation also. With the 100 data, you calculated standard deviation. That standard deviation is found to be 0.66. Now, how is it helpful? You know your control limit will be at a distance of center plus 3 sigma. What is center? 137. What is 3 sigma? 3 into 0.66 is 2. So 137 plus 2, 139 is your upper control limit. And similarly, left side, X bar minus 3 sigma, which will give you 135. 135 is your lower control limit. Now process width is also understood. UCL minus LCL, that is also 4 calories. Now I want to understand how good is my process. If I want to understand how good is my process, I have to overlap my control limit and the specification limit. And now with your knowledge on normal distribution, tell me what proportion of points will fall inside your control limit, or what percentage of points are expected to be inside the control limit. Can you tell me the percentage we learned in the beginning?
99.73.
99.73.
Very good, beautiful. If your data is normally distributed, see here, your histogram reveals normal distribution. You apply the rule, 99.73% of your milk bottles in the sample will certainly fall inside control limit. If that happens in your population also, that will happen, right? Your population also will have 99.73% of milk bottles falling inside 135 and 139. So with that point in mind, I am overlapping my specification limit and control limit. I have overlapped. See, my specification limit is here, 139. My control limit is also 139. My lower specification limit is 135. My lower control limit is also 135. And now my control limit and specification limits are overlapping, which means my specification width, my process width are same. That means my process looks capable. It is something like I have parked my car in a parking area which exactly fits my car. My process is just capable. And now imagine your control limit, you told me 99.73 will be inside. And how many you are producing in a batch? You are producing 1000 in a batch. Now tell me what is 99.73% of 1000? 99.73% of 1000 will be how many?
997.
997.
That means if you produce 1000 milk packets every batch, 997 milk packets are expected to be inside the specification limit. Why do I say 99.73 inside spec? Because I should use it only with the control limit. But in this case, my control limit and specification limit overlaps. So whatever rule applicable to control limit are now applicable to specification limit also. With that, by applying that, I understand 997 milk bottles out of 1000 I produced are within the spec. Customer will accept those. How many your customer may reject? 3 bottles your customer will reject. Now tell me, how is your business going on? Are you happy with your business? You produced 1000 milk bottles and 997 customer accepted. Now you can raise the invoice for 997. Only 3 bottles you reject, customer rejected. You can't raise the invoice. And now, are you really happy with the business now? Tell me honestly, are you happy with the way you are doing the business? You should be happy or not happy.
Should be happy.
We will be more happy if 1,000 will be accepted.
Okay, let us be more happy later on. Now, are you happy or not?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
If you, yeah, definitely, I will be happy because I am able to raise the invoice for 997 products I produce out of the 1,000. But my only concern is, suppose if the customer increases the order tomorrow, because I am able to meet his requirement today, he is happy with my performance. And so far, he is asking me 1,000 units every batch. And now he said, next week onwards, give me 10,000 milk bottles every batch. Now, will you be able to maintain the same capability? Tell me, what is your capability as of now? 997 out of 1,000, which is 99.73. Your success rate is 99.73. Now tell me, if the customer raises the demand from 1,000 to 10,000, will you be able to maintain the same capability? Or can it go down? Yes. Come on, share your views.
If it comes for the 10,000, almost we lost more than 30,
No, my
28
point
units.
is, imagine you are running a company producing milk bottle. What is your capacity? You are producing 1,000 every batch. Am I right? And now suddenly customer places an order. Give me 10,000 every single batch. Now you have to know.
It comes down, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously your capability will now come down because you have prepared everything only to suit a demand of what? 1,000 batch.
1,000.
Now
Yeah.
suddenly the market is improved. Now there is a lot of demand, and now if you continue with the same capability, what will happen? Your rejections will automatically increase. Why it happened? If there is lot of demand, you will be repeating the process so many times. So far you have been running the company only for one shift. Now in order to meet the demand, now you will run it for 3 shifts. Now there are a lot of possibilities for the variation to occur. The machine will undergo wear and tear. The raw material quality can change, and some machine settings can change. If you run the process repeatedly for so many number of times, what will happen? Your initial capability, which capability of 99.73 will tend to fall down. When you actually produce 10,000 units every batch, instead of maintaining a success rate of 99.73, you will operate somewhere around between 80 or 85. That means your rejection will now be 15 to 20%. Earlier it was only a meager 0.27%. Now it become 15 to 20%. Why it happened? The demand increased. Demand for your product increased. So in order to meet the future demand, the 99.73 which you are maintaining as of now is not enough. It creates a necessity. It creates a compelling reason to go beyond the success rate of 99.73. If you settle with 99.73, when the demand multiplies in the future, the damages will be much more than what you are experiencing as of now. So how can I improve my performance further? We'll talk about it in the next slide. And now looking at the process, see here, the curve, it looks like the head of the elephant. It looks like a head of the elephant. So I'm going to call this process an elephant process. I'm going to call this process an elephant process. Statistically, this elephant process is called a 3 sigma process. Why do I call it a 3 sigma process? Look at the specification limit. Specification limit appears here, the red color one. Where is your process center? The green color one. Can somebody tell me what is the distance between the process center and the specification limit? How much it is?
3 sigma.
It is equal to 3 sigma. Actually, it is equal to 2 units. And 2 units is 2 units divided by sigma gives 3. That means there is a 3 sigma distance between my process center and the specification limit. And so my process is statistically called a 3 sigma process, and I give it a nickname of elephant process. An elephant process or a 3 sigma process capability is 99.73. Use the capability only for a short term. Because in a long term, demand can increase. if you run the process over a longer period of time, automatically the wear and tear, lot of changes will happen in your company, which will pull down your capability. So whatever you are seeing right now, 99.73 is only applicable for short term. So we call it only short term capability and not a long term capability. In order to equip your business for in a longer term, you have to improve your process further. Improving your process further requires reduction of the variation. How can I reduce the variation? Reduce the standard deviation. But somebody asked me a question, sir, how can I really solve the problem in real time? There are many ways. No, technically you can solve the problem, but when you technically actually solve the problem, for example, you can improvise your equipment, or you can train your people, or you can you can try to bring some automatic monitoring system, and there are many ways you can actually try to reduce the variation. These are real-time solution, but when you really work in a right way, your standard deviation will come down. Earlier standard deviation was 0.66, now it has become 0.33. Since your center was at the right place, complexity is not much. If center is also a problem, and you have to move the center, but here center is already at the target, only problem is standard deviation is not sufficient. Reduce the standard deviation. What will happen when I reduce the standard deviation? Find out your control limit. Control limit is center plus 3 sigma. 3 sigma is 0.33, 3 sigma is 1. So center 137 plus 3 sigma. Now what is your revised control limit? 138. And what is your control limit on the left side? 137 minus 1, which is 136. But where are your specification limit? At the same place. 139 is your USL, 135 is your LSL. Now calculate your process width, specification width. It remains same, 4 calories. But what is your process width now? Only 2 calories. 138 minus 136. Now your process tolerance is reduced to half of the customer tolerance. You have made your process doubly capable. Why do I call it doubly capable? Customer has given you a tolerance of 2 calories on the right side, 2 calories on the left side. But how much you have consumed? Your process consumes only 1 calorie on the right side, 1 calorie on the left side. It is something like you are giving 10 rupees to your child as a pocket money. Your child spends only 5 rupees and reserves the 5 rupees for future saving. If something goes wrong in the future, the saving can be used. That same thing, exactly the same thing you are doing here. Though the customer has given you 2 calories on the right side, your process is consuming only 1 calories. That means additional cushion of 1 calorie is available even beyond the control limit. And that's how you are making your process much more capable than earlier. And now, what will happen in a long term? Long term, generally, process will definitely deteriorate. So what will happen when my process deteriorates in the long term? The process center is expected to move by a distance equal to 1.5 sigma. This is an empirical relationship which was established by statisticians. So 1.5 sigma is what your process will tend to shift over a long term. And as a result, if your process center shifts by 1.5 sigma, what will happen to your control limit? Control limit will also shift by 1.5 sigma. Do you understand here? I have drawn a control limit here. When the center shifts by 1.5 sigma, my control limit will also shift by 1.5 sigma. Even after shifting, still you have a tolerance. Still you have a tolerance. That means even in a long term, your process will remain capable. Even after experiencing a shift of 1.5, from the original position, your process is still capable. And now this particular situation, earlier we understood that our process success rate was 99.73. But now what happened? Our process success rate is 99.999. 99.999. Why do I say it is 99.999 instead of 99.73? This all comes from the knowledge of normal distribution, right? When a normal distribution, for a Z score of 3, the the success rate is 99.73. For a judge score of 3, success rate is 99.73. Now, what is your judge score? Compare the previous way. Your specification limit is here. Your specification limit is here. Where is your process center? Process center is here. What is this distance? Can somebody tell me? What is this distance? This is equal to how much?
6 sigma.
6 sigma.
So statistically, the process is 6 sigma process. But instead of using a judge score of 6, I will use a judge score of 4.5. From the normal distribution, I understand even for a judge score of 4.5, the success rate is 99.999. Now tell me, if you produce 1000 units every batch, your success rate is 99.999. Tell me what is 99.999% of 1000? Tell me. 99.999% of 1000. Can I say it is almost 1000?
Yes.
Yes.
That means
Yes.
Producing defects has become a rare event because you raised your capability to such an extent. And let us say your customer is impressed with the way you are delivering the products. He increased the order to 10,000. Now let us try the same thing. What is 99.999% of 10,000? Even with the 10,000, it works in the same manner. Almost all 10,000 products are within the spec. For you to, if you imagine you produce 1 lakh milk bottles, you will see 3.4 defects. The chance you are leaving for a defect to occur when you produce 1 million units is 3.4 defects only. And this is what we call it 3.4 DPMO. 3.4 defects per million opportunities. And this success rate of 99.999 is not a short-term success rate. It is a long-term success rate. Why do I call it long-term success rate? I have not used the judge score of 6. I have used the judge score of only 4.5. I know my process capability is 6 sigma, but still I consider it as 4.5 sigma. And it is only for 4.5 sigma, this rule comes 3.4 DPMO. So yes, process having a capability of 6 sigma in short term becomes a process of 4.5 sigma in the long term. But even in the long term, your process will still assure 99.999 success rate. In other words, 3.4 DPMO. And this process is statistically called a 6 sigma process because the distance between specification limit and your process center is equal to 6 times sigma. And now what happened? By reducing the sigma, what actually happened is your control limit is pushed further inside towards the center, right? And as if you push the control limit towards the center, what will happen? Your more points will appear around the center. As a result, your curve will become taller in the center. So I'm going to give this process a nickname called the giraffe process. Earlier it was an elephant. Now, when you push the control limit towards the center, you will see your graph growing taller in the center, right? I just give a nickname called giraffe process, nothing but statistically 6 sigma process. And now to understand whether you understood the topic correctly or not. Looking at the slide, tell me what process it is. Is it an elephant or a giraffe?
Elephant.
Elephant.
Yes. Okay. Statistically, what is the sigma level?
3 sigma.
3 sigma.
Why? Because specification limit and process center, you have a distance of 3 sigma. Now, what is the success rate a 3 sigma process can assure you?
99.73.
Yes, it is written here, 99.73. And is it a short-term success or long-term success?
Short-term success.
Short term.
What is the difference between short-term and long-term? Long-term means you will be able to meet even the increase in demand. Today, you are producing 1,000 units a day. And after 6 months, you may produce 10,000 units a day. But still, your capability remains the same. That is called long-term capability. But this 99.73, what you are seeing is only short-term capability. Simply meaning, if the demand increases in the future, failures will be more. You can't say 99.73 that time. Obviously, you will see more failures. And now I'm showing another process whereby I'm pushing the control limit further inside. Now, what is this process? Is it giraffe or elephant?
Giraffe.
Okay,
Giraffe.
looking at the picture, statistically, what is the sigma level here? What is the sigma level?
6 sigma.
Yes. And what will be the success rate of a Six Sigma process?
99.9.
99.999, right? People call it 99.99997%, right? To be accurately. And this 99.99997, is it short-term success or long-term success?
Long term.
Because the value of 99.999 is picked up for a judge score of 4.5, not for a judge score of 6. We'll talk more about the judge score, normal distribution table, probably in the main training. So you will also be able to pick out these type of success rates from the table. A standard table is available which can talk about the success rate for any process, any product, any service, and any industry. So you can also predict the future very well, right? And so what we understood is when the standard deviation is too high in any process, our process will look like this, like an elephant. And under such situation, it is hard to produce output within customer requirement. That means your sigma levels will be very low. If sigma levels are low, your success rate or the yield will be low. That means your defects will be more. DPMO will be very high. On the other hand, if you reduce the standard deviation, your process will start looking like this. That means you will see it taller in the center, and you can understand, your process become a giraffe. Don't put a big animal in a small room like this. If you put an elephant in a small room, what will happen? It will definitely damage the walls. Means your control limit will go beyond the specification limit. Rather, to that, you always get your process taller in the center. At the same time, it should be narrower. The control limit should be closer to the center. That means virtually everything you produce will meet customer requirement, because your control limit, even after shifting, will still stay inside the control limit. It will stay inside the specification limit. You are simply making failures a rare event, right? And so your sigma levels will be high in the order of 4.5 to 6. That means your success rate will be very, very high. This is what we call it 99.999. That means your DPMO projections, PPM will be very, very rare. So what we did here in a Six Sigma approach, a real-time problem is converted into a number problem. We call it statistical problem. What is statistical problem? Average not at the target or having higher standard deviation. These are the two ways problem can happen statistically. Average not at the target or standard deviation is too high. Manage both. Reduce your standard deviation and then make your average to remain on the target. And that's called the statistical solution. If you can make it happen, for that you have to work in real time. That is called practical solution. If you do this approach, you will not jump into conclusions. Always you will see to that problem is solved by addressing the cause. Here, every time you follow the methodology, success is guaranteed, right? And failure is a rare event if you follow the methodology. If you follow other approaches, including the trial and error, success is a rare event. Rather, failures will occur frequently. We are simply making failures a rare event by following the Six Sigma methodology. So these kind of approaches, when implemented diligently in any organization, will increase your revenue, because you are not allowing the defects to happen. That means your revenue will multiply and your cost will come down. Earlier, you have been producing a lot of defects, and now you are not producing defects. Almost, your defect levels are almost nil. And similarly, it will also make your resources work in an efficient way. See here, a resource produces 4 output every single hour, is now produce more output every single hour. Same way, practicing these approaches, working statistically, will make your people understand what exactly they are doing, right? And that means people will become very, very effective. People will eventually become leaders. A leader will guide others in the organization. And that's how the belt levels are generated, and everybody will be trained at appropriate levels. and all of you as a team, appropriate belt levels, will work as a team very effectively. Each one of you will know your role and responsibility, importance of the data, and so everyone will be committed to collect the data in the right way without committing error, and thereby as a team you will better understand the problem, better solve the problem, and better solution will evolve, right? And individually also all of you will be uh, benefited by learning Six Sigma. That means it will directly impact your leadership skill. Leader is not one who celebrates success. Leader is one who resolves the failures, right? So Six Sigma is a problem solving approach. So how do you solve problem? How do you take decisions using data, and makes a big difference between you and others, right? So eventually these kind of skills will make you quickly become leader in the organization, because a leader know how to impact the business result, right? By improving the critical processes, you will be able to impact the business result. Your organization will grow in terms of revenue, and you will also be rewarded accordingly. And by learning these kind of skills, you will be able to work closely with your dream company. It can be a new job, or it can be a new consulting assignment you could get because you have become a green belt or a black belt, right? So what you are going to invest is spend on the course is not really a spending, it is an investment, and an investment always comes back in multiple fold, right? And that is what going to happen if you properly equip you on the Six Sigma skill set. And that means Six Sigma is helpful in your professional life also, as well as personal life also, because these learnings can be applied everywhere. So what we learned here in the last session, Sigma level is a measure of your process capability. Higher the Sigma level, higher will be the capability. Specification limits are the limits provided by the customer. Control limits are the limits calculated using process data. A 3 Sigma process is just capable in which the short-term yield is 99.73. A 6 Sigma process is doubly capable in which the long-term yield is 99.997%. That means it accommodates even a 1.5 Sigma shift, and it is statistically and understood, right, that a process in short term will shift by an amount equal to long term, and that is why we calculated this value by deducting 1.5 from the Z score of 6. Right? A 3 Sigma process control limit will overlap with the specification limit. However, in a 6 Sigma process, control limit is pushed further inside and towards the center, right? And higher the Sigma level, higher will be the capability. If you want to increase your capability, that is Sigma level, please reduce your Sigma, which is standard deviation, right? So by now, I think all of you will understand Sigma is different from Sigma level. Sigma should be low to have a higher Sigma level, right? So problem solving and decision making skills are very, very helpful in both professional life as well as personal life. So this completes my talk in the white belt program.